Today's race is Cyclocross Tokyo. This is probably the biggest race in the Tokyo area. So in the ME3 category here, there are 51 people at the start line. Definitely the biggest that I've been in this year. And I am starting in the third row here. It's got the paved start. I've been a little cautious in the middle of the pack here on opening straightaways after my crash on the ice back in December. Not as dangerous here, but just with so many people, it's a little nerve-wracking. In the first lap, we're right onto the beach here, so you can just see that huge swarm of people in front of me. People fighting for position and sort of running on adrenaline right now. 12 kilometers per hour through the beach is a pretty fast run. I think last week, which also had a beach section, I found that I was jogging at around 9 or 10 kilometers per hour comfortably. But it's a shorter run period here before we get onto this packed sand here that was easy to ride over. And there's another section coming up right here that was a bit difficult to ride through. Got tied up there. There was one little groove or sort of packed section right in front of me here. You see some people riding on. Then there was this section of a little more dirt or packed sand close to the water. This definitely turned out to be the faster approach. So I passed, I don't know, maybe a good 10 people there coming up to this turn. We had to jump off again as it got a bit looser heading into that turn. So more running through this section, more manageable, 10 kilometers per hour now. Now, I think some of this was probably rideable if there weren't so many people around. You see the guy in the mountain bike jump on his bike. I think probably easier to do on a mountain bike than the narrower tires on a CX bike. But then this section here was a little more packed. And I sort of saw that coming. People stopped, but with fewer people around, I think you could just carry your momentum through that looser section right into this area that's a little more packed again. So able to hop back on there for this turn. Coming out of the turn, right about there was where we had to dismount again. "38th place," I think he's saying. I don't know if that's right. So a couple of people tried to jump back on here, but there was an uphill. I think it was probably, I don't know, I ran up every time. I thought that was probably more efficient than trying to grind up pedaling and putting in a lot of power, especially when it was crowded like that. Probably wasn't a huge deal either way. Then these turns were really loose dirt. I don't think I really had any problems slipping out in the race itself. I did a little bit in the pre-ride, but especially when we were slowed down like this and the whole group wasn't that big of an issue. So the start was off to the left there. We're coming back into the opening straightaway. So my lap timer should start when we reach the finish line here. That green line. Looks like it may have been a second slow. Double barriers here. So these were not in the first sort of opening portion of the lap. We turned right directly onto the beach instead of this sort of wooded section. I went with the CX Edge tires today, the file tread ones with the little bit of a knob around the edge. I wasn't sure how they would do with the loose dirt here compared to a more all-terrain tire, but I think that they tend to do better on the sand compared to knobbier tires, and I'm not entirely sure why that is, but and maybe it's not the case, but that's sort of the recommendations that I tend to see. But it was fine throughout the whole course today. So I think it was probably a fine tire choice, at least. So a couple more turns, I guess just off to the left here is to the beach. So this is the same as the first opening partial lap that we did. It was hard to carry much momentum through the opening section of the beach there, so usually I would just try to carry that as far as I could and then hop off and run. The guy back there that I just passed looked like he tried to hop on again, and I don't know if it was him or someone else in a later lap that I saw definitely being able to push through a bit, but it was just so much easier for me to slip by with the bike on my shoulder. I just thought it was not worth the effort to try to sort of push through the sand, because even if you can, it's just, I don't know, there's such a high chance of falling again, and you have to put in so much power for so little speed that it's just not worth it. So here we're reaching the section again where most people are taking that middle sort of higher route. But I went right down, just get through that little sludgy section, and then this was really packed and fast, so I think I probably passed another few people there before hopping off here. Heart rate is creeping up a bit, low 170s. So this looks like the packed sand section where usually be able to hop back on. And this is where it was loose again. Looks like I made it through. I had a lot of trouble clipping my feet back in the pedals in that section, so I think a few times I was just sort of pushing on the pedals without them having any, lock into the pedal itself. So he's calling out 24th, 25th, 26th. So I think one of those is probably me. I'm not sure which one. So I started in the third row with 8 people per row. So that's the first 24 or so. I think my number was 39, and our numbering started at 20. So I haven't really made up or lost much of any ground at this point. Or I guess I should say, I think I lost a lot of spots at the beginning. I think I got tripped up a little bit in the sand, but I think I made up several of those. Especially when I was riding on the lower section of the beach and able to pass a few people each time so far. Sounds like he was saying 25th for me. There was a handful of under 17 and under 15 riders that started a minute before us. I think I might have caught up to 1 or possibly 2 of them later in the race. Probably right at the end though. I found it really hard to pass anyone through this sort of single track section. But he was able to slip by me there. And I almost ran into the tree there. I think maybe in a later lap a couple people passed me through that section too, but I just couldn't really pick the right spots to do it myself. See the snow flurries there. Overnight, after the race, it ended up accumulating maybe 3 centimeters or so. So it would have been a much different race today, Sunday, compared to relatively dry ground that we had on Saturday. So that guy is sprinting through the sand. He passed probably 5 of us there. So this is the more steady 9-10 kilometers per hour. You saw a lot of people pushing their bikes there, but I decided to try to use that groove that everyone was rolling their bike through for a little more solid ground to run on. I was thinking it might be a little more efficient. But then my bike kept hitting up against those stakes, so I'd have to sort of weave back away from them for each time one of those posts came up. Back down here again. Looks like the guy in red has pretty decent speed, but I'm going a little faster, I think. Let's see if I'm able to catch or slip past him. Yep, so I got past him and another 1 or 2 people that were behind him. the guy on the mountain bike passing me again. Curious to see where he jumped on again, if the mountain bike has any better traction. I guess just about the same place that I and other people were able to remount. Well, he didn't have any better luck on that turn than I did, so maybe it's not so much different. I guess it's not really possible to pick up a mountain bike like that and put it over your shoulder either. I think there must have been a bit of sand packed into my the bindings on my shoe, because I had a lot of trouble clipping into the cleats. So this is the only real chance here for if not a sprint, just a sort of a little bit of a surge. And it's pretty short at that. So I shouldn't have let those two guys slip by me. I should have been able to put in a little more power there and keep up my speed. But oh well. Another guy managed to slip by me there. Number 73. So he started way back. It's impressive to me on a course like this that someone starting in the very back or towards the back is able to make up so much ground. There just aren't that many places to do it. So I think you probably have to run by a lot of people in the sand and then just sort of opportunistically pass people in that single track wooded section where you can. But it's much harder to do that. Just not as much space. But I think the sand is definitely the most exhausting part. So if you try to run faster through here, it just really, or at least for me, maybe spike my heart rate and just sort of dig a hole for myself for the rest of the race. So number 32 there. I think last race he and I were close to each other. I think he beat me, but the last couple laps we were sort of trading spots. So no surprise to see him here again today. But so he took the upper route, and I was successful getting down here again. So able to pass him and pass this guy in red and black. So I think I've the last couple laps, I think I've probably passed more people in this section than people passed me in the wooded section. So I've probably made up a couple of spots from 25th. So I don't know, maybe around 22nd or so here. Thought I might take a spill into the photographer there. I think I managed to chuckle there while gasping for air. He was cheering me on, the guy yelling. So coming back to the end of the third full lap, looks like the second lap was faster than the first, but that's no surprise given how congested the beach section especially was. And then the wooded section as well. So this lap was a good 3 or 4 seconds faster still. And again, that makes sense since it was so much more spread out by this point. I could really go at the speed that I was comfortable going. I was limited more by my own ability and not limited by being in a crowd. Another guy cheering me on. I think a lot of people know me as Benjamin, since that's how I'm registered. And then people maybe who watch these videos know me as Ben. So in the last lap here, with people passing me in this section the last 2 laps, I wanted to try to avoid that here. I really wanted to get by this guy, but I just couldn't find the right spots to do it. And it's not that he was going slowly. So there just weren't any obvious spots to pass. So last time through the sand here. Looks like my dismount was fine. Again, he was able to ride through a bit more, but just didn't think that was worth it. Worth trying, as I've said. So heart rate is creeping a little higher still. 173 beats per minute, but 174. But with just a few minutes left in the race, not that worried at this point. Pretty steady running speed. Again, trying to use that worn down groove for a little more traction to run through. Here's another guy coming from towards the back, number 69. See which way he picks. Kind of slowed down there, not sure why. So again, I was able to carry a lot more speed down through here. And then back up to pass him. I'm just gasping for air here. In so much pain. But this far into the race, the end is in sight, figuratively at least. I had pretty good luck riding through that loose section. I don't think I had to dismount on any of the laps. Maybe the first, I don't quite remember. So here's a yellow number. He must be in the younger category. Number 15. Yeah, because the ME3 category started numbering at 20. So you can hear my shoes sort of clunking against the pedals again as I'm trying to get them clipped in. And so here we are just about at the finish already, this green sort of ramp. It didn't look like I was going to be able to catch the guy in green up ahead, but decided to put in a little effort anyway. Maybe a little risky to come by that guy with much speed. But finished 18th overall, so 18 out of 51, pretty happy with. Definitely a difficult, challenging race. Fun to have so many people signed up for it. and obviously still a lot to work towards to try to make my way towards the front of the group, but it was a fun one, and looking forward to the next one.